Hey, what's up everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. It's a beautiful day out here, man. Skies are blue. And I tell you, I would rather watch this than the All-Star game I watched last night. I tell you that. I'd stare at this for 4 hours. Watch that garbage again. I kid you not. That was awful, man. Hey, look, I want to say this. The first two games in the All-Star game were actually pretty solid. It wasn't the whole thing. It was the final game that I had a problem with. And I think most people had a problem with. And the reason why is because the score went up 11-1. And then they took 30 minutes to show commercials before they showed any more basketball. 30 minutes for commercials and, of course, celebrating TNT, which, put it like this. I'm a massive fan of EJ, Charles, in the crew, Shaq, and Steve. Is his name Steve? Smith? My mind is going blank, but my man Smith. I'm a big fan of those guys. I grew up on them. I love what they do. I would like to word it celebrating the Inside the NBA crew, not necessarily TNT. So for me, I didn't like how they worded it. They were gonna honor TNT. No, TNT is a network. Honor the people who've been putting on the show that ultimately represents the NBA on the network. That was just my little pet peeve with the situation. But like, the basketball game was not the problem. It was everything going on around it that was the problem. You had like 3 and 4 hours of ads and promos. Ain't nobody want to watch all that, man. It was a situation where, and this is a joke for me, but this is actually how it went. When the score ran up 11-1, I think the link that I was watching conked out. It went out at 11-1. And so I'm like, all right. And then I tried to find other links on the same situation in the same site. Couldn't find no links. So they had no more links. So what ended up happening was I had to go find it somewhere else because they didn't have TNT on my TV here. So I had to find another way. But I got distracted and started watching something else. I watched the entire thing of what I was watching, probably about 15 minutes or more. And then realized, oh yeah, let me see how the game ended. Let me see what happened in the game, because it only goes up to 40. And they were blowing them out. So it was like, when I came back, they still weren't back. And when they finally came back, it was where I had left off. The score was still 11-1. I'm like, you can't tell me they just literally just showed people 20 minutes worth of commercials right now. 20 minutes of commercials. I'm sitting here and I'm telling you guys, man, the NBA, the problem with the NBA right now is, just like every other company in the world, they're so in love with ad revenue to where they will put anything on television so that they can slot the commercials in between whatever the content is, rather than doing away with the content. This is why they won't get rid of the NBA All-Star game. We know it's bad, but they're still able to convince ads suppliers and companies to buy those ad slots. So that's why they keep on doing all these little gimmicks or whatever, because they're not going to do away with the ad revenue that comes with the All-Star game. Even though they know the All-Star game is unwatchable, until we stop watching it and make it so that it's not worth it for the ads to be paid for by these companies who put these ads on, until it's not worthy of their investment dollars into those commercials, they're going to always put something on. They're going to call it an All-Star game, and then they're going to give those ad slots to those companies. And so that's what the game is for this business. And because that's what it is, you end up having situations where they start finding new weasel ways, and that's what I call it, weasel ass ways of inserting more ad slots into these programs. So when they slice the NBA All-Star game into 3 games, that gives them the time slots that otherwise weren't there when they have the game sliced in half with a halftime in between. So that's what I think they're actually doing. They can blame the players for not playing hard, for why they're coming up with these gimmicks. But the truth of the matter is, it's a very convenient problem for a organization that sells ad slots. And if I jump into my conspiracy theory bag, I wonder what came first. The players not playing hard, or the desire for something like this to be possible, and they needed the players not to play hard in order for them to have the excuse of doing stuff like this. It's all about ad revenue for the NBA. Adam Silver's NBA is about ad revenue. He gonna put in extra games. He gonna put in extra tournaments. He gonna splice games into 3 quarters or three halves or whatever, however that looks. Anything he could do so that he can have more ad revenue. And that's the problem, man. It's the same problem I had with NBA 2K, the video game. It stopped being about basketball and it started being about money grabs. So they have it as a situation where you quote unquote have to grind your way in order to make your player playable on your My Player. But the problem was, if you had enough money, you could just buy your way through that grind process. You don't have to sit there for a month and try to grind your player up. Just throw $200 at the situation, and you can have your player up in the sky with his attributes. You don't have to work on anything at all. You don't have to sit there and grind. It became about that more than about actual gameplay. They would sell you the same game and only work on those modes, and only pour their creativity into the stuff that you're purchasing, and sell you the same game every year. So for people like myself who didn't like playing those modes, who like to play online mode and stuff like that, I'm finding that the online mode is getting worse and worse every year. And it's because they're focused on My Player, and they're not improving My Player. They're just adding more stuff to pay for. And so that's my problem. I just think that the NBA has turned into a shameless money grab. And I think that's probably what spearheaded over the last 10 years. Some of what you've seen in a lot of these different situations where the players aren't playing hard. Do they want these players to play hard? Because when it wasn't about ad revenue, suddenly players are more competitive. Now we get into this era, and all the signs are pointing toward them asking the players to do everything they can to not get hurt in all-star games, to not play so hard in all-star games, with multiple things that trickle down from that actually benefit the ad revenue game. Because players have gotten hurt in the all-star game. They have. Not to a degree that would make you say, all right, take your foot off the gas, stars, we don't want you to get hurt. But enough to where I'm sure a few guys naturally say, you know what, I'm not going to play hard in this because I might get hurt. But when you look at footage of the old NBA from the 80s and the 90s, all the way basically up through Kobe's tenure, you saw guys play hard. It wasn't like they weren't afraid of getting injured back then. Those people were just as concerned about injuries. It wasn't like they didn't know that they could get hurt playing basketball. This is deeper than that. The effort isn't there. And to me, it's easy to blame the players for why that effort isn't there. But I don't think that this is what it seems. I don't believe this is what it seems. Not after watching that crap I watched last night. When we sitting through 25 minutes of commercials. Nah. This is something that worked out for y'all. Very much so. When these players don't play hard, now you got to splice the game up into 3 and 4 different halves. So you got more ad revenue, more opportunities to throw some campy, bull crap in there that ultimately promotes some company for which they have to pay for as well. It's like, It's shameless money grabbing. It's not about the game itself. And I'm willing to bet that the players are doing what they're told to do. They're doing what they're told to do. When they come out in these all-star games and they stink it up, don't play no defense. And that's what I think. And I don't think it's what it seems. I don't think it's the conversation that people are having around the situation that's actually going on there. I think these people are telling these folks, hey man, this is what we need you to do. This is how we want you to play. And the players are perfectly fine with it because it keeps them healthy, preserves their bodies. And then they get to turn around and blame the players for the lack of effort. And then from there do all types of gimmicky stuff that puts more opportunities for ads to be purchased within these games. And that's exactly what I think is happening there. And I'm telling you, it all started going downhill when Adam Silver took over. Same thing with 2K. This didn't start happening until Adam Silver started taking over. The 2K game and the buying and all this other stuff with NBA's branding on it, but it's all being a money grab and there's all types of weird stuff going on in the game that I used to tell y'all about. That started happening when Adam Silver took over. That wasn't going on when the old commission was in place. That wasn't happening. I just think there was a real shift when he took over. His vision is about money grabbing. It's all about the money grab. It don't have nothing to do with the product on the basketball floor being up to par. It's about the money grab. Can I put more ad revenue in there? Yeah, cool. All right, we're good. Can I add more commercials into the situation? Yeah, cool. If we put more ads on the floor and on the jerseys, yeah, all right, then we're doing our thing. Like that's literally all he's about. And just like anything else that sells out, it gets watered down, the substance gets snatched from it, and then the passion thereafter. No matter what it is. If that's the formula, then this is what happens to it. That's all it is to it. And look, money is the name of the game. But the hoarding of wealth brings forth the deterioration of passion in a lot of cases. I cannot stress this enough. There's a thin line between becoming successful and doing anything and everything to gather every coin you can. And that's where we've crossed the line in the NBA, and that's where we crossed the line in music. That's where we crossed the line in a lot of different programs and things that we watch. There's no give as it pertains to the drive toward earning versus the historical reputation of putting on stellar product, which you will ultimately be judged by when all the money's spent up. When all those who you have running around for you right now are gone, they judge them versus the past and judge them versus the future. And at the end of the day, you have an asterisk on you. Why? Because you did everything you could to play a game that had nothing to do with what it is that ultimately everybody else has been doing historically in regards to your brand and what it is that your ultimate purpose was supposed to be, which is to put on great basketball. Put on a great basketball situation, not necessarily earn the most money no matter what. Yes, it's a business, but you're foregoing an opportunity to give us the best product because the goal is not to put on the best product. It's to make the most money. And so I think there has to be some give. If you want to have integrity in regards to what you're doing historically, if what your game is in regards to weighing itself against the past, there has to be certain money you're willing to leave on the table to assure the integrity of the game that you're putting on. It can't just be about earning money to the infinite. You see what I'm saying? It can't. You can still be massively wealthy. Ain't nobody saying forego all opportunities to earn. But certain things you leave sacred. You sacrifice that for the integrity of what it is that you're doing so that the longevity of it and the passion that made people fall in love with it doesn't go out the window upon your money grab. It's called having a long-term vision and a long-term outlook on what you're doing. If me mastering the art of earning every coin I can in this era is going to make it so that nobody ever wants to watch this crap again, then I've hurt the long-term aspects of what my situation is. I've turned a long-term business into a short-term money grab. You know what I mean? You go from selling greatness to just trying to make a quick buck. It's not. That's what's wrong there. It's exactly what's wrong there. And so that's why I think at this point, I'm about done with Adam Silver. I'm about done with Adam Silver. I don't necessarily think the NBA is in good hands with him anymore, because he's always trying some money grab nonsense to sell ad revenue. And I understand that we're in the business of making money, but you're also in the business of putting on product that matches up with the greatness that was placed in position before these people and their greedy hands got into it. And that is killing it long term. So if your short-term money graph is going to destroy the business itself, if it's going to destroy the business itself, then how much are you actually earning? What are you, you're going to get all the money you can right now and then forego any opportunity to make money in the future. It's parallel to the issues we have with some of the organizations in the league. Foregoing their entire future for this year. Mortgaging everything for this year. It doesn't work. It's the same thing. And I'm telling you, man, the little video I made yesterday before the All-Star game, I wasn't the only person on the internet saying that, man. We literally, a lot of people literally forgot All-Star Saturday night even happened, yo. As it pertains to, okay, we watch it every year. We can't wait to see the three-point contest and the dunk contest. I forgot it was even on, man, when it came on. And I'm a passionate basketball fan, diehard Laker fan. I started watching the All-Star stuff religiously back in 1996, when I literally stumbled on to Kobe Bryant entering into the dunk contest. I turned the channel on when my guy was about to dunk the ball. Literally. The timing was uncanny, because I didn't know nothing about, I had just become a fan the year before. I was like a 9-year-old kid. I wasn't keeping up with the NBA schedule or when the All-Star game happened. I was just turning channels, sitting on the floor, turning the channel. And I happened to turn on the channel it was on right before Kobe did his jam. And so for me, it's like, I ain't missed an All-Star game since. I ain't missed an All-Star Saturday night since, until this past weekend, where it was literally on. I knew it was on, but it garnered so little excitement in me that when it came around for the hour for it to turn on, I was watching something else and didn't cross my mind that it was on. Because that's how little entertainment it's been for myself over the last several years watching it. It's not exciting anymore. They've taken the luster out of it organically for me. It's not something I'm deliberately staying away from. It's just out of sight, out of mind. And I'm telling you, them splicing these games up into 3 and 4 different games, 3 games or whatever, letting the youngsters play that aren't even all-stars, like that really killed it for me in a way. One of my guys is on there, Dalton Connect. I was happy to see Dalton complete, and I thought the young players competed very well. I really did. I thought they competed very well. But far be it from me to think that that's what I want to see every year. Players that are not all-stars, players that just got drafted, some of which aren't even playing on their regular teams, playing next to the stars of the past and the stars of the present. I don't want to see that garbage, man. Y'all makes a bad thing worse. That's what you did. You made a bad thing worse. I honestly think they need to do away with the damn gimmicks and go back to the traditional way and just wait this out. Sometimes the best thing to do is nothing. West versus East. Fans vote the starters. Whoever the hell y'all got, media voting the reserves. West versus East. No one player picks the rest of the team and pushes them together. No splicing the games up into 3 quarters. No weird score nonsense. Just make it a 4-quarter game with 10 minutes a quarter or 12 minutes a quarter. And just wait it out until these guys that you say don't want to play hard are out of the league. Just keep it going. Give yourself an MVP at the end of the game. Every year, do it again the same way. And it will become better product as new generations come in. If this is what you say it is, which is players in this generation not playing hard. They almost gone anyway. Half of them dudes that you say don't play hard, man, they almost out of the league. But all this gimmicky crap is really eating away at not only people's interest, but you hear players like Draymond Green talk about it. It's eating away at the player interest. LeBron James didn't play. Anthony Edwards didn't play. Giannis didn't play. You think that's just by accident? Them dudes boycotting this crap, man. I'm telling you, that's what they're doing. Bron is a guy who I think silently boycotts a lot. I've been pointing that out every time I see it. Oh, yeah, he's boycotting that. Yeah, he not happy with that. He ain't gonna play. Oh yeah, no, he ain't gonna show up for that. He ain't gonna play hard for that because he ain't happy with that. He's that kind of guy because he can't come out with his voice and say I'm unhappy. It's way too many add interest circumstances that ultimately get hurt by that. He's too indoctrinated in I make money for too many different companies. I'm a billionaire. That's how I did it, by being careful. But he doesn't roll over. He just makes it so that you're not really sure if he's boycotting or not. A lot of stars do that in this era. If you notice, it's a couple of them in different genres, not just sports. You ain't really sure they're boycotting, but minds like mine can tell you they're boycotting. LeBron is one of those people, man. Kendrick Lamar is another one. They're boycotting, fam, and they don't necessarily want you to be able to confirm that they're doing so. But this is a very, very intricate intention to let you know that they don't appreciate something. And I can tell you, LeBron James do not like this all-star format. He don't like some of these gimmicks. And he's letting you know it by not playing it. And not allowing you enough time to put a reserve in place in his stead. That is the boycott itself. I believe he knew he wasn't going to play this game 3 weeks ago. So I believe he made the decision not to play in this game a long time ago when he saw something that he didn't like in regards to it. And he probably made the decision to tell you last minute so you couldn't replace nobody with him. And so for me, I just say, man, look, traditionalists like myself, we have not been happy with the effort that we've seen. And I do have a conspiracy thought in my head, but it may not hold any weight at all. One thing's for sure, the creativity of trying to figure out how to doctor it up is making it worse. That is for certain. Whether you're doing it for ad revenue on purpose or you're doing it because you genuinely don't think that people want to watch the product that you had in place, your creativity is making it worse. And I heard Kendrick Perkins' point of view. He was essentially saying, did the players play hard yesterday? And he said, yeah. And he said, well, then the format's working. Just give it a few more years. But I would tell you, the players that played hard were guys that hadn't been there before, which brings it back to my theory, which is the new generation going to play hard regardless of the format. It's the old generation that's been in place for the last 15 years, LeBron's generation essentially, that didn't really play hard for whatever good reason or bad reason. I don't know that Wemby's generation is going to do that. I don't know that Evan Mobley's generation is going to do that. The generations before the guys that we're talking about didn't do that. Which is why I don't think changes needed to be made on high. They just needed to flush out the guys who were bringing forth the energy that wasn't otherwise hard. The format isn't the problem. It's the gameplay. It was the effort that was the problem, one way or another. And so that's what I'm here to say to y'all, man. One way or another, that was the problem. In my humble opinion. And, I do think that it's been a beautiful storm of, oh my God, this is so bad. We got to make changes. And in making changes, the only thing that we're actually trying to find a solution for was how to make more ad money. We weren't trying to fix the game. They were trying to fix it so that we saw more commercials. Salute the Kobe minute. And they accomplished that. But I'm telling you right now, I don't know that I'm even watching next year. If they have this same format and they plan on doing the same thing next year, I'm going to find something else to do. I don't want to watch that. 25 minutes of commercials in between 10 minutes of basketball play? No, I'm not watching that. And players not wanting to be in a dunk contest, I don't really know. You know, I tell you the truth, man. A part of me thinks that might be a silent protest on LeBron's part. Dating back 21 years ago when he decided not to be in the dunk contest. I think that was a silent protest. My theory, I ain't heard nothing from LeBron that makes me think that this is the case. I'm just running off of what my brain's telling me when I look at certain behaviors. It's probably somewhere in the ballpark of people not liking to be exploited and or judged for their natural ability jumping off the ground as an athlete. When you look at a guy like LeBron James, the one thing that all of us say is that a lot of what it is he does is predicated off of his gifts and power and strength and leaping ability. And maybe he doesn't want a light shined on that only thing because that's what you're going to know him for as a dunker, a leaper. When my game is more predicated on the things that you are pleased with in regards to people like Jokic and Magic. It's not my athleticism that's carrying me through this league, because if I didn't have it, I'd still be in this league. I think that's kind of what I've been taking from him not joining the dunk contest. I took something like that from it. Somewhere in that ballpark, maybe in the ballpark of I don't like doing the running, dance, and jig for you. You know, somewhere as a black person, I don't really know where LeBron stands on this. I don't know that I would take it this way if I were an athlete. But the run and jump, skip and hop thing for you, and you judge me and saying whether or not my natural ability to be creative while trying to make you dance and laugh, and I don't know if everybody really, you know what I'm saying? I don't think everybody take well to that. Some people's minds are going to go to places and maybe the natural American mind ain't going to. Like, we're being exploited for our natural ability. There's a bunch of people who can't do what we do tell us that they either approve or don't approve of what it is we're doing. And it may work on the basketball court when we compete with one another, but don't have me on display on auction. You understand what I'm saying? Maybe somewhere in that ballpark, to be honest with you, for those who are wondering why some of these players don't want to dunk in the dunk contest. The majority of the ones y'all want to see dunking in the dunk contest are black people. And so that may be what's in some of their minds, or there may be the underlying tone there, like, yo, we ain't about to be exploited for you. We'll exploit as long as it benefits our intentions. But as far as we running and jumping and hopping and skipping and trying to be better than the last guy, nah, I ain't about to do that for you. Maybe it's in that ballpark. Maybe it's in that ballpark. Let me enter that seed of thought into a lot of y'all minds when y'all assessing why these players don't want to jump, run and jump, fly for you. Just for you to say, nah, not quite, 49, 48. Hey, bro, I'm over here by myself. This is a team sport, and y'all trying to exploit me for my jumping ability. Just a thought. I personally appreciate when players jump, especially the stars, because I think it brings a certain entertainment to it, I guess, as someone who wants to watch entertainment. But, like, you know what I mean? If I were in that position, I don't know. Depends on some of the conversations I probably had around me to make me think a certain way. You know, a lot of the guys who competed in the dunk contest, you don't know some of the conversations they probably had with some of these dudes who refused to. It's easy to blame LeBron James, but who the hell put it in his head that he shouldn't be dunking? That's a conversation I don't think anybody's had. Are you sure he didn't hear from Dominique Wilkins and Michael Jordan? And how they didn't appreciate how that thing went down? And LeBron James walk away from that saying, well, in my generation, we ain't gonna do that, buddy. They ain't gonna do me like they did y'all. I don't know. But I can tell you right now, as a black person in this country, there are a lot of things that the grand majority may not understand about the positions we take or how we view certain things or why we wouldn't be willing to do certain things. Because the history doesn't, you may not even know the history in a lot of cases of how our people were treated in certain situations as it pertains to entertainment. Or maybe you're detached from it because it wasn't pointed at your people. You weren't the butt of the damn jokes. But that minstrel era, that left a lot of trauma in our people. That left a lot of trauma in our people, man. And I know that those who can't relate to trauma often think of trauma as something aside. But those who had it pointed at them for any length of time, they have a different relationship with that type of thing. It's a different relationship to it. And I think that's the detachment in our country in a lot of cases when it comes to this type of stuff, because the grand majority haven't been made fun of like that generationally. And when they were, it wasn't from a space of systematic and structural and spiritual hatred. It was just fun and games when they make fun of one another. It wasn't fun and games when they made fun of us and exploited us. There's a different spirit behind it. So your relationship with it ain't the same. And that's what we need to start having conversations about to help people understand the Black Americans' perspective on a lot of things. Especially the unapologetic Black Americans' perspective on a lot of things. Still want to make our money though, which is why you ain't going to hear these conversations out of those mouths. But trust me, a lot of the stuff that these people don't do or don't align with or may not necessarily vibe with or may want to protest against is because of that relationship with the trauma that came with being made fun of systematically, having our ancestors made fun of systematically. The belittling of our image and exploitation of our talents. And then furthermore, having those talents be exploited in such a way only to turn around and tell us we're beneath the people who can't do what it is that we can do. And it was our responsibility to make them laugh, make them happy, make them smile, give them wonder in regards to what our physical talents are, only to be belittled by those same people when we go out into the streets. Your relationship with that isn't the same if you're not one of those people. And so that's what I want people to understand. And that's the disconnect that I see in a lot of cases. So when they look at a guy like LeBron James, why he don't want to dunk, maybe it's somewhere in that ballpark. Maybe not. But that tea leaf is definitely in place. It's one of the most visually recognized Black people of all time. He represents us and your image of us, no matter if he wants to or not, based on being represented in such a way to the masses all the time. You understand what I'm saying? So maybe he feels a responsibility to represent us in a certain way, and maybe you wouldn't otherwise relate to if you haven't had these thoughts cross your mind. You know what gives me that tea leaf is how he handled not wanting to take pay cuts throughout the course of his career. Because he essentially said something along the lines of, it's my responsibility to not take pay cuts so that the precedent isn't set for other people who come after me to think that they got to leave money on the table for the billionaire. It's not because he doesn't see the fruit in what happens when you take the money. It's that he sees the fruit in what happens when you leave a representation of the athlete who knows his own worth, and how it hurts when you don't take the money. And so it's like that. That's what gives me that tea leaf to think, well, maybe he looks at things that way in another area of his entertainment and what his representation is. He's always thinking about who comes after him and what happens to them when they do certain things that he did, or maybe they don't benefit from certain things that he otherwise left on the table in terms of leverage. So it's like, it's a lot to consider when you consider LeBron James and his representation, when everybody's watching him and they're trying to figure out what's right for them to do when they have the representation, the leverage that he has. How do we handle it? He's trying to live in those shoes, and those are tough shoes to wear. So, that's my point of view on this. I just think that trying to wear the shoes of somebody who has unprecedented fame and responsibility and talent is hard. It's hard to do. And I think a lot of what LeBron James does, says, and, he's trying to live up to that, to all of those things. And it ain't easy, man. And I ain't saying he's done everything right. There's been a lot of things that he did that maybe I didn't necessarily think were right. But at the end of the day, I don't think that he's in a position to where he was given a handbook on how to handle this either. So I give him a pass on a lot of the stuff that people don't want to give him a pass for. Because if you were in his shoes, I don't know that you handle things that much better. And that you can't relate to them shoes doesn't mean that he's not responsible for wearing them. Same goes for the great Michael Jackson and people like that. People walked this earth and had immeasurable amounts of fame and the draw of ads wanting to be a part of whatever it is they're doing. You don't get to just come out and say this, that, and the third. Now you got 100 companies behind you apologizing for something that you did. That's a PR nightmare for them. You don't get a chance to just say, yo, I'm putting my fist up in the air, Black Power or something like that. Now you're getting dropped by 1 million companies. So how do you express your intentions? And what it is that your representation is? Well, in a lot of cases you don't, unless you can find a way to do it covertly. And I think a lot of times when you see people who maintain their status in fame without losing sponsors often do their protesting covertly. They can't do it as themselves, but they'll do it in a different way. And so that's what I think I'm seeing in a lot of cases. In the NBA and beyond. So yeah, this is my point of view on things, man. I think this conversation is obviously outside of basketball to a degree. But, you know, at the end of the day, I just want people who follow me to understand that there's a conversation that isn't being had about the trauma of the menstrual era and how that may trickle down to some of the decisions you see Black Americans make when they're in positions of fame. And to try to help people understand that a good portion of the people who have commentary on these conversations who are not Black may not be able to understand the fullness of that relationship to that particular trauma. And why we take it so seriously, why we take ourselves so seriously. Why we get offended at certain things that y'all don't think should be taken offense to in regards to how we do certain things, or why we don't want to entertain you, but to a certain degree that benefits us, or whatever the case may be. You got to blame those who are engaging in that type of energy, generationally, passing forth a folly attached to the seriousness of what Blackness actually has been in this country and beyond. It's not just offense, it's trauma. And I don't think a lot of people who embody that know how to articulate that. I don't think they know how to say it. They just feel it and then they act. And that's a real thing too. That we got to understand. A lot of people don't necessarily know why they do what they do or know how to tell you why they do what they do. But they do it, and it has some things to it that maybe they just haven't thought their way through. That's what that could be in a lot of cases as well. And so that's why I just think, you know, at the end of the day, I try to be that voice that puts it out there that maybe this is the case and maybe I'm wrong. And I leave room for being wrong. But in the shoes that I am in, as a person of color in this country, I know the pain that comes with looking at some of those images from the 20s and the 10s and the 30s, blackface and all that. I understand, like, I feel that same pain that a lot of my people feel when we look at those images and understand that that was what was done and that is what's continuing to be done on different levels right now. And then a lot of what is wrong with how we're viewed in this world, why we may take on energy that we don't respect in the world, is because that, for which has been embedded in the minds of so many here, to look at us and view us in that way or some negative way, or to not be taken seriously, is in place. And we always have to work against it to whatever degree we are able to. We always got to work around it. You know, it deteriorates the image of what fairness should be applied to you when people don't take you seriously. It deteriorates your leverage in life in a competitive world when people look at you and say that black person this, that black person that, as opposed to that human being this, that human being that. And while a lot of people who engage in the energy that ultimately offends us don't respect it, a lot of people on the sideline who are neutral to the conversation need to understand the perspective. Now, a lot of us are forever at war with that energy. We're forever trying to prove ourselves not to be what it is that ultimately is out there about us. Whatever the case may be, whether people are doing a good job of not reinforcing those stereotypes or not. Each individual has to walk out their house with their black skin and know that those stereotypes are attached to them and know that it is unnatural in a lot of cases. Unnatural that you're being viewed a certain way. And so that's what it is, man. It wasn't harmless. It never was. And then you can see that it affects people to this day. Which is why racism and things of that nature need to be done away with, in my opinion. They need to be done away with because it causes generational trauma, and ultimately affects the behaviors of people generations at a time down the road. You point the worst energy at a certain people, and you see the effects trickle down through their children, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren, so on and so forth. And so that's what I'm here to tell people, man. It's not harmless that we be insensitive to the feelings and the humanity of others. This is why I'm so passionate about the conversations I have on this channel in regards to what I do. It's because I know that we're doing that in this era in a different way right now, and it's understood to be okay based on certain things that just don't take into account all of what goes wrong when you allow for that to be the case. So that's about as much as I want to say in regards to that. I have a whole nother video that I can kind of segue into that'll allow me to go further away from the NBA than I already have. But this is where this conversation is taking me, man. Y'all know how my brain works. If you follow me long enough, you know I always can find something out of something. So, yeah, man. At the end of the day, the NBA All-Star Game was not great. And I think that some of the players that didn't involve themselves in that may be silently protesting a million different things at once. And maybe not. Who knows, right? But the point is, some of the best players were not available. And what was available was a bunch of ads. Millions and millions of ads that ultimately keep me from wanting to watch. Video 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.